Hey Tim, I was going to send you a written blog this week, have it all typed up right here, and I thought might switch it up for a change and give you a video blog. So right now I'm in one of our secondary shops that we have here in the school. This is a woodworking shop. Right behind me is a CNC machine. I'll give you just a quick little tour of the room here. Over to this side we have some miter saws, our drill presses, some sanders. Over here we have a planer, a jointer, table saw. And on this side we have our scroll saws, routers, band saws, and more band saws and sanders in the corner. It's actually quite an elaborate room considering the size of it. Now our main shop is, I'll say 7 to 8 times the size. It's humongous. And then one of my other classrooms that I work in is, it doubles as a computer lab. That leads me into our blog this week on our teaching reflections and the observations of the classroom organization setting, structures, routines, rules, classroom culture. So the structure of my period 2, 4, and 5 classroom is in room 137, which is right across the hall. And it doubles as a computer lab. So the outline of that classroom is like, I think 6 rows of desks times 4. So it allows for 24 students sitting at desks. But the entire room is then, the perimeter of the room is outlined by computers. And the students do a lot of their work either at their desks or on the computers. It seems like a lot of the assignments, tests, and quizzes are all on the computers these days, which makes marking an absolute breeze. But while they're sitting at their desks, they are awfully close to me, probably as close as I am to this camera right now. We have a whiteboard that we use with a projector. We do our PowerPoints on it, but we do a lot of talking and conversing with the class. We don't do a lot of presenting of PowerPoints, it seems. But depending on the day's activities, they could be just working at their desk, working on computer assignments. They could be designing some stuff to be done on the CNC machine or the laser in our main shop. So yeah, it varies from day to day. They could be in here, they could be over there. We have a third classroom, which is the manufacturing classroom as well. So sometimes kids will jump in there, do some welding, some cutting, things like that. But in my period 6 class, that's in the main shop always. And right now that's theater production. And what they're doing is they're building a set for the Christmas production that they're doing this year. So right now kids are in the shop working on all the tools, working with blueprints, doing some layout, some design. It's a pretty great experience in that sense. As for rules are the same across every single class. The tech department here really works all on the same page. They've made it that way, so a student entering one of those classes, if he ends up picking up a class with another teacher, the rules are already set in place. There's no deviation, there's no variation between those rules. And that includes things like staying off your phones and the expectation to work independently. In the labs, students have to lock up their phones in a cupboard actually, and they're expected to work safely at all times. And of course, things like respect, kindness, communication are really emphasized here. Now the classroom climate is very different in each class. My period 2, which is my first class of the day, because prep is period 1, it's comprised of grade 10s who are mostly involved in athletics. They are boisterous, they get along quite well, they're well behaved. And I attribute this classroom management to my associate teacher, Joe DiTrolio. He really focuses on building those connections and the communication with the students. Period 4 and 5 are grade 9 students. And that's what I'm actually in right now. They're writing a test right now. I'm in the computer lab, so I just took a quick minute here to shoot this. But they're shy, they're nervous, very uncomfortable. But at the same time, they're also very well behaved and they're keen to learn. But as they are shy, it's kind of like pulling teeth to get them to communicate, to jump into class discussion from time to time. Now the period 6 class, the one that's working on the theater production, they are the most, I'll say, dynamic of the group because the grades 11 and 12 students. They've been here for years, they've made their connections with their friends, they tend to follow their friends from class to class in that sense. So there's a lot of that camaraderie, that friendship, but at the same time, they can be quite boisterous at time to times. And with grade 11 and 12s, they have some attitudes once in a while, which takes, this has been the biggest adjustment for me, is to not react to comments or certain words or things like that. I've had to just learn to bite my tongue. That's been my biggest challenge thus far. But with that, they are easy to get back on task because most of the kids that are in the theater production in this tech class are also part of the theater class. So they are really invested in how successful the project turns out in the technology class, so they can show it off when they're doing their theater, their plays and things like that. And because they are grade 11 and 12s, they are familiar with a lot of the machines. They get a lot more freedom. There's a lot less hand-holding or babysitting. They are confident, and it makes for an easier dynamic in that classroom working with the students when you're not constantly having to monitor everyone to make sure they're not losing their digits. So how do students learn best? Well, this is a tricky one, and you talked about this ad nauseum while we were in Windsor, but I'm still trying to figure it out. They learn differently in every single class. Some students are much more vocal than others. Some enjoy asking questions. And while others might not just be interested in class, or they at least look to not be interested in class. With that said, the uninterested ones can flip a switch just like that the next day and be super engaged. The older students like working in groups, while the grade 9s feel more comfortable working by themselves. Some students learn best by being active, while others like desk work or computer work. The classes are extremely diverse, like I mentioned. There's a lot of girls in our classes, which is awesome to see. It's exciting to see so many young women exploring some of these careers or these opportunities or getting comfortable with some of these machines that we have in our shop. No one ever seems to complain about working with anyone in a group setting, but if it were left up to them, they would pick their own groups, obviously. I guess that's not a shock, I guess. Students always seem to enjoy class-led discussions and projects in which they feel that they have input into the direction or the programming. There's a lot of flexibility in the design and execution built into these lessons, which does allow students to remain engaged through their creativity. Having said all that, the one thing I had mentioned, not reacting to certain words or attitudes or terms that I've had to adjust to, and kind of just like one ear out the other type thing, because you don't want to give them that reaction, because it's, man, I've seen it. It's like a feeding frenzy if you do react. Once they smell that blood in the water, holy smokes. Thankfully, because I'm a new teacher here, or Mr. T as they call me, and I look miserable at all times, they don't ride me too much. One of our teachers, though, they have found his weakness, I guess, and they try to expose it at all times. But one of the other things that I've really noticed that I was shocked about is the amount of IEPs that we're dealing with here. I'm sure it's prevalent throughout the school, but I mean in our tech class, there are a lot of IEPs. And it's a bit of a struggle, I would suggest, or a learning curve to try to understand each student's needs. And as I'm not privy to the IEPs, I kind of rely on my ATs to share with me what's in the IEP so I know how to approach a student. We have one student that noise is an issue with him. And we have another student that just, he can't stay on task, he can't focus, he has autism. And I've been working one-on-one with him quite a bit lately to get him back on task. You'll see it if you look at when you look at my teaching logs for October. I've been doing a lot of one-on-one classwork with students that have special needs. So that's another thing. So I enjoy learning some of those things and learning how to work one-on-one with students and cater to their needs in order to find their success. But it is overwhelming, and I'm kind of shocked at how much IEP is necessary there, and the lack of staff support that these teachers do have in helping students through it. So that's my blog this week. I hope that covered everything that I hope that satisfies everything that you might be looking for from a blog. And I got a bunch of students here standing at the door. They keep distracting me. But yeah, that's my blog, Tim. I hope you like it. I don't know if we were supposed to submit one this week, but I wasn't taking a chance because I didn't want to get a PP slap from you and have to write you an essay. So I hope you've enjoyed Reading Week, Tim, and I'll catch you in the next one.